So we have some students today who are joining with us from IIT Bombay. They are actually doing research. Some of them are also undergrad. So we recently started. I'm working with Professor Swaroop Ganguly um, from IIT Bombay, and we will be eventually working with the students for some basic. They are working in device modeling. Where basically they are the guys who take the devices and measure the response of transistor and then characterize them and then make models. The models which we will be using in ADS to do some small signal analysis. So for them, it's also important to understand what exactly happens. So and please let me know, guys, if you don't understand anything, because this is your first time joining in. But I will like to quickly give you a broad overview. So once you have a device, and for others as well. So once you have a device, there are few steps which you do for device modeling and characterization. So say this is the drain, this is my gate of a FET, and this is my source. So once I have this bare device, this device has some S parameters, and Prabhanshu knows about it, that these S parameters are based on your biases, which means VGS, VDS, and the response change with a function of voltage. Now these S parameters, S11, S12, S22, and S21, they basically determine many factors within the transistors. So for example, so the step one, when you have a transistor, so you will bias your gate of the transistor, you will put a bias here, and you will put a bias on the drain. Okay. So once you bias your transistors, then you get some kind of a response across frequency. So S parameters also changes with respect to frequency. So first thing and the foremost things which we check for a given transistor is the stability, which means, man, why is it so slow? Let me use another whiteboard. Which means how stable my device is, right? So basically, when so given the S parameters, S matrix of my transistor, I want to check the stability of my transistor. That is the foremost important part, because if your transistor is not stable, you won't be able to use it to design either a small signal amplifier or a large signal amplifier or anything. So what happens is that if your transistor is not stable, for example, you take your device, or if say you make like a, so you, this is your FET, you look, right, you take that FET, you put like a matching, input matching, and students have already studied about input output matching. You put these input output matching to match it to 50 ohms, and what usually you see that you will connect this to a network analyzer, which basically is used to see the spectrum. And what you will see is that if your signal was supposed to be at f naught frequency, apart from this frequency you will have oscillations everywhere. You know, your spectrum should be clean, because you want signal to be only at your f naught. You don't want signal to be at, you know, f naught plus whatever delta, f naught minus delta. You want neat and clean signal, because you know that is very very important for the quality of signal. So foremost step is to look for the stability. So how we determine stability? There is input stability, there is output stability. So you want to see that if you again have a transistor, you will have impedance gamma L, and you will have impedance gamma S, which is the impedance looking to the load which you are terminating at the output of the transistor, at the drain of the transistor, and the load which you are terminating at the source of the transistor. So this gamma L and gamma S basically are the impedances, and you want to make sure that these gamma S and gamma L are in the stable area. So this is the first step. Once you know your transistor stable, now depending on the type of the transistor, you can have a specific gain. Okay, there is a max gain which you can get out of the transistor. Once you have a gain, you know what your gain value is. You will know how much you can gain, how much gain you can get from the input, from the transistor itself, and from the output, like total gain using with the matching network, with the transistor itself, and with the output matching. So then you choose those impedances if your transistor is stable, and then you design your input output matching so that you terminate those input output matching with 50 ohms, and then your overall this low noise amplifier should give you certain gain G, okay, which you will design for. So we will be going over stability, we will be going about the concept of gain, and how we choose those impedances, how we plot those things on Smith chart, and so on. One question to you, Prabhanshu and Ritesh and all: have you guys studied Smith charts before?
Yes, sir. Some of it we have studied. At least I have studied some of it.
Who is this, Prabhanshu?
Prabhanshu, yes, sir.
Okay, Ritesh, what about you?
Yes, sir. I've studied in a microwave course.
Okay, awesome. So, so let me go back now, because we did some. I want to continue from the stability concept. So basically, what happens is we actually went through this last time, but for a given network, you can have stability is basically the resistance to the spontaneity, or if a device sees negative impedance, it means the device is unstable. So you always want device to see a positive impedance. So the stability is basically two types. Okay, one is device is unconditionally stable, which means that the whatever you do to the device, your device, any impedance on Smith chart will always be stable. The second is something which is not conditionally stable or potentially unstable. It means device is unstable, but we need to understand which part of the Smith chart is stable and which part of the Smith chart is not stable. So for people who attended the class last week, I did go through the derivations, how you derive all these stability circles. And basically, I don't want to go through all this again, but the main concept is that you design output stability circle and you design input stability circles, and they are based on S parameter of the device. So basically what happens is, given whatever the S parameter of the device is, you will plot your stability circles. Now, if you have to plot a circle, you need two things: the radius of the circle and the center of the circle. So you calculate the radius and the center of the circles, and then you plot those. And once you plot, you have to figure out which area is stable and which area is not stable. So our story starts from that. So first we took the device, we check for the stability. How we check for the stability? We check it using K factor, and I will go through it what the K factor is. But once you have a device, you first take the S parameters and plot output stability circle and input stability circles using these formulas which we derive about RL, CL, and RS and CS. Once you have it, say you are at output and you are looking at the output stability circle. So for example, this is my Smith chart, the black, the color with the black, and this is my stability circle which I have plotted. Now for the output stability circle, which means that you are looking into gamma L plane, you will check what is your S11. Now if your S11 is less than 1, it means center of my Smith chart is in stable region. If my S11 is greater than 1, then my center of the chart is in unstable region, which means this part, the shaded part here, is the stable region. And again, we did talk about it in the last class, where we showed that output stability circles are plotted by forcing gamma in is equal to 1, because if gamma in is greater than 1, and here by the way, gamma is what? Gamma is your magnitude of the reflection coefficient. If that is greater than 1, it means your impedance is outside Smith chart, because Smith chart is the gamma equal, max is gamma equal to 1. So we don't want gamma is equal to be greater than 1. So we make sure gamma is equal to 1. And for that, we plot our stability circle based on our R and C. And then we will identify which region is unstable and which region is stable. Once we have identified that, then we will know what type of impedances are good for our design, and we choose impedances accordingly. Similarly, for input stability, same logic. Now for input stability, what we will do, we will check the sign of S22. And basically what you will do that if S22 is less than 1, center of the Smith chart is stable. If S22 is greater than 1, the center is unstable and the shaded region is in the stable region. We will go over a problem and then it will be more clear. Okay. So this is basic thing. You always have to plot input and output stability networks. Once you have input output stability network, then you basically see what values you get. And another thing is when you have S parameters, right? One thing is you can plot stability circle. Otherwise, the second way to look at the stability is through stability factor. So stability factor K here is given by, again, S parameters. And if my K is greater than 1 and the delta is less than 1, I have defined what my K is. It's simple, it's formula based. You plug in values, see what K is, see what delta is. If K is greater than 1, delta is less than 1, my device is unconditionally stable. Rest other cases, my device is potentially unstable. Even if, so last time this question was asked, what if my K is greater than 1, but delta is also greater than 1? In that case, also the device is potentially unstable. Okay. If K is less than 1, for sure device is potentially unstable. So I think Manas asked this question last time. And I double checked it because I was a little confused. So through stability circle, you will know right away whether your device is stable or the device is non-stable. Okay. So we were discussing this problem last time where you are given S parameters, S11, S2, S12, S21, S22, and we have to determine what is the stability and show what are the stability circle. So when we calculated my K was less than 1 and delta was less than 1. So my device here is potentially unstable. So if device is potentially unstable, we go back, use these formulas to calculate what are my RL, CL, RS, CS, which is my radius at load, center at load, radius at input, center at input. And then we just calculate CS, RS, CL, RL, and then try to plot stability circles on the Smith chart. So that's where the story starts in this lecture. Whatever we have told is mostly a recap, but once you know the center and the radius of the circles, then you will go ahead and plot it on the Smith chart. So Prabhanshu and other folks from IIT Bombay, right? What you have created, the model, that model has some S parameter behavior. Is that correct? So your model can plot S parameters, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, exactly. So what I'm explaining is that I am taking that block. Imagine that block, what you guys have made and designed, it has some S parameters, right? And now, given those S parameters, you are trying to see what can be done and what not. So first thing you have to do with that is to do a test for the stability of the device, the model you have created. So what happens is, even in ADS, I will show you in the next class. In ADS, there are ways you can directly plot these stability circles, and you will know how stable the device is. So coming back to this question, I know my CS, I know my RS, I know my CL and RL. So let's go back, and if I use these are the S parameters given. I calculated my CS, CL, RS, and RL. So if I go back here, Oh my god, where is that colored chart? I don't like this one. What? The heck? Where is the Smith chart? We always use that one, right? पड़ा हुआ था. That's so strange. It always appears on the top. Why is it not? Oh, it's here. No, this is not the one. Yeah, drive पर तो है, but I mean, I don't. I just feel lazy to open it. Let me see high resolution. It's here. That's so weird. We always get it on the first thing. I don't know. For some reason, they don't like me teaching you. Okay. So yeah, let's go through it. How do we first plot it on a Smith chart? So you guys will directly plot it from next class. You guys will directly plot the same thing using ADS. So what happens is, I told you, you know what is the center and the radius. In this case, my CS, I know CS, I know RS, and CL and RL. So first thing is, you know, from here, from 0, you can measure whatever the radius is using a compass. You can measure whatever the radius is. So let's go back. Let's see 1.79 angle 122. Okay. So 1.79 means I will be from here somewhere until here. This is 1.6, 1.7. So that's what I will take. This is around 1.7. Okay. And what was it? 1.7 angle 122. 1.7 angle 122. Okay. And RS is 1.04. So what I will do, I will go basically 1.7. So means from the center, I will put this compass, measure this distance, and all the way I will, an angle is 122. So this is 90 degrees. This is approximately 122. So let me go from center in this direction. And it's 1.7. So this is 1. So 1.7 will be kind of little further away. You know, it will be little in this direction. Okay. So I will first mark my center. So say this is my center, CL. Then its radius is 1. So if 1, I will again do the same thing, put my compass here, measure this distance. This is 1. And from here, I will just put like a, whatever you say, you know, sorry, from here, I will put that compass and cut wherever that 1.04 is. And then just draw a circle. Okay. Actually, this looks a little terrible, but it will be something like this. So this will be your RL. Ignore this one. Okay. So this is one circle. Similarly, at the source, you have CS and RS. You will plot another circle. Okay. Now, as I explained, S11 sign you have to see. In this particular case, S11 is less than 1. If S11 is less than 1, the center part is of the Smith chart is stable. So this region is all stable region. And this part is unstable. This part is unstable. Whatever is the intersection between Smith chart and this. So this is unstable. Okay. Now, you know the unstable part, you know the stable part, which means that if you pick any impedance here, you know, any impedance, you won't have oscillation problem. But by chance, if you pick an impedance in this area, you will start seeing oscillation problem. So now the question is, we know that our device is unstable. We know that thing, right? We basically saw that in this given example, the K is less than 1, delta is less than 1. So I realized, okay, my device is unstable. I plotted my circles. I plotted my gamma S and gamma L circle, and I saw that my device is unstable. Now, question is, how Once you know your device is unstable, how do you stabilize your device? Okay, so this is that particular example, and if you see here, this will make it very clear that this is your input stability circle. Okay, so this is your input stability circle and this is your output stability circle. So again, going back, CS for input, RS for input, CL for output, RL for output. L is load, S is source. CL is 1.3 angle 48. So angle 48. So this is my load stability circle. And this is my source stability circle. And this region is my unstable region, which means if I select gamma S and gamma L, both are in the region of instability. Okay. Now, can someone tell me, if you want to kill oscillation, what can you do? Say you have a signal which has a lot of oscillation. How to reduce that oscillation? Any idea? If you have a signal which is creating a lot of oscillation, how do you kill that? Do you Nobody wants to answer it? It's very okay. Let me put it this way: if you have actually, Premlata, are you sure your new MAC address starts from 18? Because this doesn't sound right to me. Because
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Usually, see, all other MAC address has one letter and one digit. Are you sure this is 18?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. 18.
Okay, I can try. They will just kill me. You know, I got 30 licenses for $0, and I've been I've been emailing them to like do all this stuff. Okay, so okay, let me ask this way: if there is a signal whose amplitude is very high, how do you kill that amplitude? This is a very simple question. Anyone can answer. Deepak, how do you kill something which has a high amplitude? How do you decrease amplitude of that thing?
So by adding the capacitor.
Capacitor. How? Why capacitor?
Sir, because oscillations कम करने के लिए capacitors use किया जाता है.
Capacitor is like, if you give a voltage swing across capacitor, what will happen? See, you have Q is equal to CV. If you are changing the voltage, you are accumulating charge. You are accumulating charge, it means you are charging the cap, but that doesn't mean you are killing the oscillation or killing the amplification. It's very simple, right? If something is someone is making a lot of buzz around, what you do, you try to resist that person. Hey, I don't want to talk to you, man. You're just eating my head, So basically what happens is, if you want to kill oscillation, similarly, you use resistance. You use a resistor, and that resistor can be used anywhere, right? Say, for example, this is my device. I can put a resistor in series at input to kill my input oscillation. Similarly, I can put resistor at output to kill my output oscillation. And location of this resistors can be different. I can put resistance like this. I can put resistance like this. Okay. I can also use multiple resistance. So also I can use, say, R and C in parallel. So there can be multiple ways of doing that. Now the question is, you can stabilize your device using different means, and I will tell you how we select these. And Prabhanshu and you IIT Bombay guys, right? Once you know S parameters, you will do stability analysis at whatever frequency of operation you need it, right? I am very much sure when you want to stabilize device, it's not only at your frequency. Say for example, you are operating at 2 gigahertz. You don't want your signal just to be or your device to be stable at 2 gigahertz, but you want your signal to be clean, say from say 0.5 gig up to maybe third harmonic of it or fifth harmonic. You want an entire this band, you want K to be greater than 1 or the stability factor to be greater than 1. If it is less than 1, you have to stabilize and you choose this value of resistance so that you maintain K greater than 1. So once you will run your simulation now using S parameter block you have, and by biasing the transistor, you will know what exact K you have. And if your K is greater than 1, if you are stable, right? No problem. You go ahead with the design. But it's very hard to have a device which is always stable. So usually K is less than 1 and you have to check for the stability of the device. Now, how do you determine the value of the resistance? It's very simple. So what you do basically, you know this circle, this is input, this is output. You take, so this point is going all the way and going to the center. You take the point of intersection of this, okay, and try to locate for gamma, try to locate for constant R and constant G circle, okay. So for the folks who are attending first time, in a Smith chart, you have constant R circles. Constant R circles are the ones which basically are these ones like going this way, you know, the clock constant resistance circle, the ones who are going like this, the darker dot. Constant conductance circle are the ones which are, so on a Smith chart, this is my constant R circle, okay, and this is my constant G circle, which is constant conductance circle. So what you will do, you will put this point and try to spot for a constant R and constant G circle. So in this case, what will be this? Is it constant R or constant G? So this circle is my constant R circle. Okay. So if this is constant R circle, so you will try to find the nearest constant R circle which actually gazes your curve. So if you bring all the way to down, you can see this is 1 center of the Smith chart, this is 0.5, this is 0.2. So it's actually 0.18. So 0.18 times 50. So this is 9 ohms. Okay. So what it means, you take the transistor and put an input stability of 9 ohms. That will stabilize your device. Second thing is, again, you go to the circle which basically touches or gazes the stability circle. In this case, it is like this. Okay. And you go all the way on that constant Y circle and read this value. Again, for the Y's, it's opposite. For Z, center is 1 and Z increases this way. Again, for the folks, this is 1 and here it's open. Here it is short circuit. So it increases here 1.2 and its normalized value 1.2, 1.4, so on. Y is opposite. Y increases in this direction. So Y 1 is this and 1.2 is this, 1.4 is this. So if you come here, this is around 0.7. Since it is Y, when you normalize impedance, you divide by 50. When you normalize Y, when you have a normalized impedance, you multiply by 50. But if it is admittance, you divide by 50. So when you are dividing by 50, which is my normalizing impedance, you get this value to be around 71.5 ohms. So which means you take the device and put 71.5 ohms in parallel because it's on the constant conductance circle. If it is on the constant resistance circle, that is basically when you are putting the series element. Similarly, for the output, you do the same thing. You try to find which circle touches this output stability circle. So in this case, there is one is this circle. Again, this is what? This is my constant R circle. So this value is around 0.5. Okay, because this is center. This is around 0.58. So this is 29 ohms. Similarly, you go on a constant G circle, and this is 0.1 over 50, around 500 ohms. So it means at the output, you will basically take the transistor and put one resistor like this with a value of 500 ohms. In another case, you take it and put like a series R. So if you see, there are 4 solutions of this: 9, 71.5, 29, and 500. So by stabilizing the transistor, you can you can use different value of R. Now the question is, can somebody tell me which one out of these you think will be the worst in terms of your performance of the device? Say you want to use this transistor for gain. You want to get good gain. Which of the following transistor will be the worst? Any idea? Prabhanshu, what do you think?
The one with the series at the output.
Very good. Why?
Because like whatever gain we have, it will like eat up all the gain that we have provided.
Exactly. So basically what will happen in this case is that this 29 ohm will kill your output signal, and you don't want that, because at output you are getting the amplified signal at the output. By putting the resistor, you are just killing all that. So usually we always try to use input resistance for stability. We never ever uses output resistance for stability. Okay, so remember this. This is very fundamental thing. So for JNU guys, the concept is very try to understand it, try to absorb it. I might give you some problems to work on, but did everyone understand how to plot stability circle? That is my first question. Any confusion on plotting of stability circle?
No, sir. Yeah.
Okay, great. So so this is done. Now what happens is, let's talk about this. This is an interesting problem. You have S parameters, okay? S11, S12, S21, and S22. And it took me a while to figure out a problem like this, because it is because of Manas I put this problem in, because he asked the question last time and I was just curious to see what happens in that particular case. So I don't know if you guys wanna just quickly calculate K and delta in this question, but or maybe I can do it. So in this particular case, S11 is less than 1, first of all, and S22 is also less than 1. Both are less than 1. Okay. So let's go back. Sayali and are you guys? Did you guys took any RF courses before?
So I had an RF course in my BTech.
You had in BTech. Okay, good. By the way, I will be teaching a course next semester in IIT Bombay. That will be more graduate level course, but it will be focused only on power amplifier design, which means that we will be going from device to power amplifier. And now I don't know how it works, but if you guys want, you can attend that. So okay, so in this question we have been given S parameters, which are given here: S11, S12, S21, S22. So first step will be to calculate K. Okay, And this K factor is also there in ADS. It's called K factor is there. There's a mu factor. You can use any of those tokens in S parameter simulation. I mean, Deepak and few folks don't have a license, but so I will wait for next class probably, or see if we can do something today. So K, we know how to calculate K. I mean, we did a study in the last class, and there is a straight formula. There is nothing very very fancy in this. It's given by 1 minus S11 square minus S22 square plus delta whole square. Okay, 2 S12 times S21, right? Am I right? Or let me just cross double check it if I'm not
Right, sir.
S21. And delta, then we calculate delta. Delta is given by what? Delta is given by my
S11 into S22 minus S12 into S21.
S11 into S22 minus S21 into S12. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So for this particular case, let me quickly calculate. Ritesh, what is K in this case? Ritesh is muted now. So K is around 1.15 and delta is 1.58. So basically what I'm doing is I'm just using these S parameters. Okay, let me put it here so that you guys can see. I'm using these S parameters, and using that I'm just plugging it here based on the value of K and delta, which we studied here, to calculate whether the device is stable or not. Okay. So when you do this, when you substitute these values, okay, when you substitute these values, you find two things. You find K is greater than 1 and you find delta is also greater than 1. And as a result, K greater than 1 and delta is also greater than 1. So we know if K is greater than 1 and delta is less than 1, then I am for sure unconditionally stable. Okay, this we know. I will be unconditionally stable. But if this is the case, or K is less than 1, I am always potentially unstable. When I say potentially unstable, it means that device is unstable. It can be unstable at input and output, but we don't know unless we draw the stability circles. So we will do the same thing. We will calculate CS using the formula I have shown before, and we will calculate RS. In this case, my CS is 0.21 angle 52. My RS is 0.54. Okay. CL, my center is 0.21 angle 27 degree. My RL is 0.54. Okay. So you know center, radius of both circles. Now what we will do the same thing. Get a Smith chart. And I don't know where my Smith chart is today for some reason. It doesn't like me. Maybe I can quickly see if I can find. It was on the drive, right? Google Drive. I think I don't have direct link of that. Maybe. Sorry. I don't know. It always shows the first thing. For some reason today it's not showing that. That's very weird. High resolution. Okay. So now what I will do, I will try to plot this CS center and plot these two circles. So this center was 0.2 angle 52. So from here, 0.2 is this much. It's a small radius. 0.2. Okay. Angle 52. So from center, 52 is around here. So this is 52. Okay, approximately. 0.2. So 0.2 is a smaller one, will be somewhere here, approximately. Okay. And then, so this is my CS. Then I will go and plot CL. Same radius, angle is 27. So थोड़ा सा इधर होगा. So CS is 0.21. So same radius पे इधर. Now one RS का radius भी both have same 0.5. So we'll go and measure 0.5 from here. तो इस सेंटर से ड्रॉ करेंगे और इस सेंटर से ड्रॉ करेंगे. तो 0.5 might be somewhere here. So I'm just approximating it, guys. Don't take it by. Please do yourself. Use a compass. My circle is also looking like an oval, but I can't make it without a compass. So, and for the same thing from here, your circle might be somewhere ऐसा कुछ जाएगा मेरे ख्याल से, like this. And sorry, and it will like cross it somewhere. Oops, shoot, sorry. It will be something like this. Okay, now, so this there are two circles. One is, this is the output stability circle, another is input stability circle. So again, for input stability circle, what we will do, go back, what we saw for input stability circle here, right? Let's do first output, right? For output, we will take S11. Okay, S11 is less than 1, and S22 is also less than 1. Okay, so for input for output stability circle, S22 is less than 1. So if it is less than 1, the part, the center of the Smith chart, this is the stable. So this all is the stable portion. This is all stable, and this is all unstable. ये जो बाहर वाला एरिया है ना इनपुट के लिए, वो सब अनस्टेबल है. This all is unstable. So which means, as a designer, if I pick any impedance here to design, I am in an unstable region. If I pick any impedance here, I'm in an unstable region. So in ADS, what you guys will do with the model you have created, IIT Bombay folks, Ritesh, have you seen these videos from Anurag Bhargav about stability?
So not all of them, but I've seen some like class A AVMs, class B amplifiers.
Okay, those are more advanced, but these are the fundamental things which you should know, because any designer, right? You guys are modeling guys. A person like me will go to you and say, hey, you made a device, give me your device. I will ask you, hey, is the device stable enough? Did you check the stability? And you will like, I don't know. I mean, just take it and see it. So I can't trust on the guys who are doing modeling, because they are the ones who will not do design. So I will take that model, do stability analysis, understand which region is stable, which region is unstable, so that when I finally go and design my amplifier and I'm designing my input matching, output matching, I'm choosing my gamma S, I'm choosing my gamma L. Those are in the stable regions of the Smith chart. Okay. And so in this example, for example, this is all unstable for input. Similarly, for the output, center will be stable and all the rest outside portion will be unstable. So usually manufacturer avoid producing transistor where K is greater than 1 and delta is greater than 1. Can somebody explain me why transistor manufacturing folks want to do this? Very simple logic. Because you are wasting half of your Smith chart. Like all this portion cannot be used for the design. And you are so vulnerable, right? Say if you design something here, and by just by the design variation, your impedance jumps here, you are in unstable region. So you don't want that. Okay. So that's why stability is very, very important. It's very fundamental. If you don't stabilize your device, man, you are gone. Companies spend millions of dollars to produce transistors and technology where their devices can be stable. So that's the thing. So device guys, some of the students from IIT Bombay are actually working in the device lab, where these guys make transistors. These are the guys who make technology. So these semiconductors which they are making, which we designers, RF engineers use for designing circuits, those technology has to be stable enough so that design can be made. So first thing you IIT Bombay folks you want to do is make sure do a stability test using the S parameters you have. That's step one. Okay. For other folks, any questions so far? Okay, so let's keep going. This is done. Input output stability done. Transistor is stable. We know we can use resistance to stabilize the transistor. Now comes we will move to the gain. And we have studied all this previously about 3 types of gain. I don't want to go back and revise all this because I spend a good amount of energy and time in this. There are 3 types of gain for newcomers: available gain, the transducer gain, and the power gain. Okay. And basically how you define them is the transducer gain is the power delivered to the load divided by what was at the source and finally what was actually delivered to the load. That's my transducer. Maybe I can show you a picture that will make it more clear. If I remember correctly, there was a picture. I guess this one, right? So this is available power, this is input power, this is power delivered to the load PL, and PAVN is the power available from the network. So whatever is power going to the load divided by whatever was the available power is given as GT, or the transducer gain. Power gain is the power delivered to the load divided by whatever was the input. Input means why AVS and P in won't be equal? Can someone comment on that? Why they are different powers? So here, what is it? It is just a network. You can think of it as an input, and then I have an input matching network. Then I have my transistor, and then an output matching network terminated to the load. PAVS and PIN are not might or might not be equal, because if input matching has a mismatch, there will be reflection. So that's why the power will be reflected back instead of all the power going to the input of the transistor. So PAVS and PIN will be different. So similarly, power gain is the power delivered to the load over power input to the network, and available gain is the power available from the network, which is PAVN here, divided by whatever was available. So these are different 3 types of gains in a transistor, and I have just re-summarized it so that we quickly recall. So there is GT, GP, GA, gamma in and gamma out. There are these 4 or 5 parameters which are very, very important. What is gamma in and gamma out again? So again, going back, actually I put an image. Yeah, this one. I love this image. Okay. So basically what is happening here is, for a given transistor, you have your gamma in and you have your gamma S. Gamma S is looking towards the source. Gamma in is looking towards the transistor. Similarly, gamma out, gamma L, looking towards the load. Whatever the load is, say 50 ohms. 50 ohms. So the overall gain in an amplifier. So we Okay, let's consider that S12 is 0. S12 0 means your device is unilateral, which means there is no coupling from the input to the output, which means your effect from port 1 to port 2, at least moving in this direction, from going from input to output, is not there. So if a device is unilateral, which means S12 is 0, then what happens to my gamma in and gamma out? If you see this equation, if my S12 is 0, my gamma in is equal to S11 and my gamma out is equal to S22. Okay, so in that case, gamma in and gamma out are these, and my gain is given by 1 minus gamma s square over 1 minus S11 gamma s, S21 square 1 minus gamma L over 1 minus S22. I just replace gamma in by S11 and gamma out by S22 from this equation. From this equation, I'm just changing gamma in to gamma S and gamma L to gamma out to S22. So this is my total gain. Okay. Now this gain has 3 parts: 1, 2, 3. The first part is my GS. Okay. GS is my input matching network gain. S21 is my gain of my transistor, which is Z0. And third, 1 minus gamma L square over 1 minus S22 gamma L whole square is my output matching network GL. Okay. So total gain is given by GS plus G0 plus GL in dB. This is what the total gain of my my chain is, like, starting from the input matching, transistor, and output matching. Now, if we optimize gamma S and gamma L to provide maximum gain in GS and GL, you want that maximum gain. You want to get that GS and GL, then we refer to gain as maximum unilateral transducer power gain. That it means you are designing for the maximum power gain, and you are forcing gamma S to be S11 conjugate and gamma L is equal to S22 conjugate. If you do that, your GS max becomes 1 over, so basically just substitute gamma S as S11 conjugate in this and gamma L as S22 conjugate in this. If you do that, your GS max becomes 1 over 1 minus S11 whole square, and GL max becomes 1 over 1 minus S22 whole square. So if you see what is the maximum available gain possible out of the transistor, that is given by 1 minus S11 whole square, S21 whole square over 1 minus S22 whole square. When you are saying maximum gain possible of the transistor, you are assuming that your input and output are conjugately matched to S11 and S22, because now or you can say gamma in and gamma out, which means in this particular case, right, you see you have transistors. So this is your gamma in. Let me just show it clearly. So through S parameters, you know this thing, and now you will have, say, some gamma S here. Okay, this is your gamma in of the transistor. This is your gamma out of the transistor. Okay, and this is your gamma L of the transistor. So if you say your gamma S is equal to gamma in conjugate, and for unilateral case this is equal to S11 conjugate, and gamma L is equal to gamma out conjugate, and this is equal to S22 conjugate, then you are trying to reach maximum gain out of the device. What is that maximum gain possible? So IIT Bombay folks, for your device, you have S parameters, you need to know what is the maximum gain. So in ADS, there is a token of max gain. We will be going through this when we design the amplifier in ADS. So you can calculate what that max gain is, and that max gain is calculated in the assumption where we assume my gamma S is gamma in conjugate and gamma L is my gamma out conjugate. Okay. Now here is an interesting thing. say I have a device and I have two things, stability and max gain. Can someone guess or have any intuition what will be the relationship between stability and max gain? Just analytically, what do you think?
As stability increases, maximum gain decreases.
When stability increases, why? Why do you think? Okay, so this is एक minute. Okay, so basically, yeah, this is a very good point. So what happens is usually when you plot max gain, gain decreases across frequency. Okay, this will be your max gain. Now, what you will see if you plot this max gain, say it was 25 dB and it is reducing to whatever, 10 dB. Your stability factor goes like this. Say I'm plotting stability here, and say this at higher frequency device is more stable because gain is lower, and if device has more gain, there will be a possibility that my device will be unstable. So when you start stabilizing your device, which means when you start putting those resistors and input and output, you will see your gain variation happens. Higher the value of R, less will be the gain, more stable your device is. So what you want to do is you want to make your device barely, like not barely, but reasonably stable by making sure K is greater than 1, and also see how much gain is changing, because greater than 1 has all values. You can go up to 5. But if you try to stabilize device so much, your gain will be killed. So there has to be a sweet trade-off between gain and stability. Okay. So everyone understood this maximum gain concept. Any questions on this? Okay, good. So now the question is, okay, we know what is the max gain. So say max gain is, I don't know, 20 dB. Okay. Now, you also understand this thing that if you're designing for maximum gain, you might end up running into the problem of stability, which means that let's see the Smith chart. Okay, so what might happen is, say this is my load stability. I'm just taking an example. Say this is my load stability circle. Okay, say this all area is unstable. Okay, now you found an impedance which has a max gain of say 20 dB. You find a gamma L, but that gamma L is here. Now the problem is, if you will try to design for it, you will end up being an unstable region. When you are in unstable region, it is nothing but your device is not even amplifying. It might be just oscillating. You don't want to do that. So this will be a single dot, because this single dot is coming from the fact this is the max gain, and it is a single dot because your gamma S and gamma L are just conjugate of your gamma out and gamma in. Okay. Now, if you start giving away the gain, say minus 2 dB, so you will be 18 dB. So 18 dB will be a circle. Then you say go to 16 dB. 16 dB will be a circle. Then you say go to 12 dB. 12 dB will be a circle. So what will happen is that you might select an impedance here, 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 or here, which will be not exactly the max gain, but there will be it will be less gain value, and it will be on a circle. So for that, we will come now to something called as gain circles. What sort of gain circles are possible from the device? Okay,
So can you repeat what you just explained?
who is asking this?
Manas.
All right. Sometimes Manas asks me questions, but it helps me to read more, you know. 1 second. Okay. So what I'm saying is, this is important because, you know, as a designer, that's what the real life is and real challenges. And when we will do simulation, we will see all this. So what I'm saying is this: say you understood this thing, you have a Smith chart, you had a stability region, you found that this all is unstable region. You found by putting gamma L is equal to gamma out conjugate, you found that your impedance end up here. Okay. And your gamma S is gamma in conjugate. When your gamma L is gamma out, you are designing GP. This is GA. And this is max GP and max GA. Okay, max and max. Okay, here. You see? GS max, GL max. Okay. Now, this will be just one specific impedance, because, you know, this is given by this condition, and you will get one single value of whatever your gain is. You know, that will be the max possible gain. And once you have that particular max value of gain, you know what that impedance is. That is a single value of impedance. Okay. Now the point is, this happens only when in a one condition. Usually GS is given by 1 minus gamma S whole square over 1 minus S11 gamma S whole square. But what if my gamma S is not S11 conjugate? If my gamma S is something else, I will have a different value of GS. Okay. So what happens is, say this was 20 dB, the max gain possible. Okay. So now what will happen is that, because you as you will go away from this, your gain will decrease, but your stability will increase. Okay. So what I'm saying is that, say you are coming here and you are trying to plot for your client. I will go into gain circles, but you are trying to plot gain. So as you are away from it, your value will be, say, 15 dB. Okay. But that 15 dB is not a constant impedance, because what is happening is your gamma S, your gain, say in this case the power gain, is not just dependent on your S parameter, but also on your gamma S. Okay. Or gamma L. Power gain is always gamma L. So it is dependent on your gamma L. So now if it is dependent on my gamma L, what will happen is, since my GP is a function of gamma L and my S parameters, you will end up getting different circles of different value of gains. So 15 dB, if you go further apart, it might be 12 dB. So depending on what your application is, you will select whatever impedance. We will do it. Just wait for another 15 minutes. We will get into it. So I'm just telling you guys that single point is only when you are looking for max gain. That is a single impedance. But the risk of designing for single impedance is you compromise on stability. So that's why you go away from stability, but then it's not a single impedance, it's the circle of a particular gain, and you select impedance on that circle. With that, I will move next and explain you like what those circles are. So
Okay, sir.
So now the question comes about gain circles. You know, in unilateral case, still I'm considering unilateral case where my S12 is basically equal to 0. Okay. So if my if I have a unilateral case, and my again gain equation is given by 1 minus gamma s whole square over 1 minus s11 gamma square s21 blah 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 blah. So this is gs g naught gl. Okay, so any generalized expression for any given gamma can be given by gi is equal to 1 minus gamma I whole square over 1 minus whatever that I is into gamma I ka whole square. Now up the point is, okay, we know this is the gain, but there are two cases as we understood, right, through K, that first case can be unconditionally stable, second can be potentially a device can be unconditionally stable or can be potentially unstable or potentially stable. It's the same thing, right? Now think it this way. First case where is a unilateral case and unconditionally stable. It means I can pretty much design anywhere on my Smith chart, So the maximum value is obtained. We understood this. The maximum value is obtained when gamma s is equal to s11 conjugate, gamma l is equal to s22 conjugate. So my gi max is given by 1 minus SII whole square. Or sorry, magnitude of SII ka whole square. So for GL it is 1 minus S22 whole square. For GS GS max is equal to 1 minus S11 whole square. Now the question is, if it is max, the termination that produces GI max are the optimum termination or the termination which will give me maximum value of the gain. Now the point is, this GI has a minimum value of 0 when this gamma is equal to 1, which means my S11 is equal to 1. And if I put any values between 1 and whatever that value of my S11 is, it produces different gains. It will produce different gains as I deviate away from this condition. If I deviate away from this condition, I will get different gains. So GI has a maximum value of 0. Other values of gamma I produces GI between 0 and GI max. Okay. Of course, you cannot go above the GI max. This is the maximum value, and the maximum value is given by 1 minus gamma. In this case, S22 ka whole square or gamma L ka whole square. Okay. So any gain can exist between this 0 and GI max. Any gain can exist. Okay. Now the value of gamma I that produces a constant gain circle GI, and many values can produce that particular gain. Okay. So that will be shown to lie on a circle on a Smith chart. These circles are called constant gain circles. Okay. For source it is GS circles. For load it is GL circle. So you have GS circles and you have GL circles. One is source circle, one is the load circle. So now the question is, okay, oh my God, did I screw this up? I should not save it. Okay. So now if you want to plot those circles, you have to, like how we plotted the stability circles, you have to first use following steps. Just bear with me for some time. It's a little complex, but we will get there. So if first thing is your GI max. It's straightforward. It's dependent on if for example, if you are calculating at the source, your GX max is 1 over 1 minus S11 whole square, because S11 is at the input. You're calculating the source circle. So that GI max. Say GI max is 20 dB. Now you are trying to find a gain circle of 18 dB. So small GI can be calculated over GI max is equal to GI 1 minus SII whole square is equal to, you just substitute these values and what not, and you get this expression. Now again, like you just force this expression into a circle, the equation of the circle. Through that, you can find the center of the circle and radius of the circle. What I am more interested in is to find the CGI and RGI. This CGI and RGI are the center and the radius of my specific gain circle. If it is at source, is given by GS and RGS and CGS, and it is given basically as a function of small g, which is nothing but GI over GI max. It is a function of S parameters. If it is radius, the radius is given again by small g and function of S parameters. If it is at input, I will take S11. If it is at output, I will take S22. Okay. So it might be clear with this example, So how do you plot constant GI circles on Smith chart is you locate SII conjugate and draw a line from center to the origin of this. At SIIs, the gain is GI max because we know at the conjugate, this will be GI max. Now, between this GI max, which is this point or this conjugate point, between this point and my gain equal to 0, there will be different gain circles. So determine the value of GI where GI belongs to 0 to GI max, for which you will basically calculate GI using GI over GI max. Now from the equation, we can determine what are the values of CGI and RGI. And then once we know center and radius, do the same thing. We start plotting the circles. So let's go with an example because, example makes things very clear and makes our life easy. So in this particular case, it has a S11 of 0.7 angle 125. And we have to first calculate, because it's S11, we will calculate GS max. GS max is what? 1 over 1 minus S11 whole square, 1 over 1 minus 0.2 whole square, and this is 1.96. Always remember, this value is in linear scale. You will have to convert it into dB, right? So just multiply it with log tan, and you will get whatever the gain is. Now, this GS max, how do we locate this GS max? It's nothing but S11 conjugate. So अब S11 conjugate क्या होगा? 0.1 angle minus 125. So 90 is this, minus 90 is this. This is minus 125. 0.7. How do you mark 0.7? Again, put on the bottom of the Smith chart, there is a scale. Put 0.7 and mark this. So this point is where my S11 conjugate is. Okay, this point. So this point will give me maximum gain, which in this case is GS max. This will give me maximum gain, and this will be a single impedance which will give me maximum gain. And that impedance here is given by S11 conjugate. That will be my gamma S. Okay. Now, I know what is my maximum gain because I have calculated, which is 2.92 dB. Okay. Now from 2.92 dB, gain of 17.51 dB. Okay. Now the question is, how much gain is left? The gain which is left is 19.45 minus 17.51, which is equal to roughly 0.49 dB. So your load gain, what you need is around 0.49 dB. Okay. So which means I have to plot a gamma L for this particular gain. Are you getting me? So for this particular gain, I will have to plot my GL circle. Okay, just 1 second. Actually, I could just write here in PowerPoint. It's much easier, I don't know why I was not using it before. Kind of. So okay. So what we saw is that for GL, my GL which is needed to meet the total gain requirement is around 0.49 dB. Okay. So follow the same step. You know what your GL, you will calculate small GI. Once you have GI, you will calculate CGL, you will calculate RGL. Okay. So in this particular case, your CGL is given by CGL is equal to 0.48 angle 35, and RGL is given by 0.38. So you know CGL and RGL. Again, go back, get a Smith chart, and let's try to just quickly plot it. Why this is interesting? Because as a designer, it becomes interesting when you start understanding that why we are studying all this. So in this particular case, your center is 0.48 angle 35. So 35 is somewhere I will say here. Okay, 0.48. Put your compass here, measure whatever 0.48 is, mark it. So kind of this will be my circle. And again, what is my S22 in this case? 0.6 minus 35. Okay, so S22 is 0.6 minus 35. So for GL max, my max gain, I need to go to S22 conjugate, which will be 0.6 angle 35. तो इसी पर 0.6 angle 35 से this is 1, this 0.6 इधर होगा. So this will be 0.6 angle 35 और my S22 conjugate. ठीक है, ये point हो गया S22 conjugate. Now for the circle, I know my center. My center is somewhere here. I calculate radius, put my compass 0.38 जो कि यहां तक होगा, उसको रख के यहां पर I will plot my circle. Say 0.38 is this, and I will plot my somewhere my circle will go like this. Okay, oops, sorry. So my circle will go like this. Can somebody tell me, now the question is, any impedance on this circle will give me gain of 0.49 dB. Any impedance. I select this, I select this, I select this. Can somebody tell me where do you want to, okay, just to be sure if you are not seeing it, this is my R is equal to 1 circle. So if I am a smart engineer, what I will do, I will select this impedance as my gamma L impedance, because if I select this, I just need what? This is what? Series L. I just need a small series L to match this. If I put so what I will do basically, after my transistor, I will just put a series L, and that will help me to move from here to here with this value. And if I terminate it, I put it and I terminate it with 50 ohms. This will give me a gain of 0.49 dB at the output. And I need 0.49 dB at the output. Why? Because I already have enough gain coming from my input and my transistor. So this plus this is equal to whatever total gain is needed. So that's how I will select my gamma L. So there can be a problem where you have stability network, and then you have a gain circle which is going like this. Now this is 50 ohms. So you cannot select anything here because it is an unstable region, and you will have a choice to select anything. So you always want to select something which eases your matching, because ultimately this matching component you have to use. So you want to simplify your matching. So you will select wherever you have the minimum component possible needed. You will select that, and then that will be the part of your match. Is that clear? Any questions? Prabhanshu and you guys, are you following it, or is it too off track?
Yes, sir. To some extent, yes, sir.
Yeah, I know, because you haven't attended the previous classes, but I'm just trying to. But once we jump in, why this class is very important, because when we start doing ADS from next week, I will go all these steps again in simulator. So you will enjoy it, because whatever you are seeing in theory will actually work in practice also. Okay. Any questions for JNU folks? Did you understood this? Manas, any question? Any question?
No, sir, understood.
Very good. You guys are super smart. What about Mansa? Are you following?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. So you got my point, right? So we plot gain circles like this, and then, by the way, what's the time right now? Are we good on time?
Yes, sir. It's 10:36. We still have 25 minutes.
Okay. So you understood this, that you know how you have to follow these steps to get to the gain circles, and once you plot the gain circles, you can calculate whatever gamma L is needed, and then you design matching. And similarly, you can also choose impedance at the input, you can choose the impedance at the output. You know your S22 conjugate and S11 conjugate are the impedance where you will get the maximum gain out of the device. Okay. And again, you know, you can do matching many ways. I hope you haven't forgotten matching. You can use series L, you can use shunt L, you can use series C, you can use shunt C, you can use a stub and a transmission line, you can use a short stub and a transmission line. You can use all these things. Okay, so what in the lab, what activity has been planned for the ADS? I have a transistor model. Actually, you know, Prabhanshu and guys, we can also implement your model, but you guys can do it in parallel. But what I will do, I will share an Avago Broadcom transistor model. You guys will basically look for the stability, stabilize the device, then plot gain circles, plot for gamma S and gamma L conjugate, select that impedance. Once your impedance is selected, design a matching network both at input and at the output with ideal components. I will give you a substrate specification, convert it into microstrip, do EM simulation, put that EM simulated EM simulated structures with the transistor active model, and show me that the overall gain, overall S21 S parameter of that entire chain, including the matching network, gives you closest to the maximum gain possible of the transistor. That is the exercise we will have to do in the lab or in the simulation. Are you following what I said? That, you know, we will go through the entire flow, starting from the basic DCIV to stability to gain, selection of impedance, design of matching network, EM simulation of the matching structures, putting everything together to get what is the maximum possible gain of the device. Okay. What is this option though? Okay, that's anyways happening. Okay. So that's done. Okay, so next is the case. I think this is next is the case where you are in an unstable case. Okay, now this is slightly different. Okay, and the point here is that if in this particular case all expressions are the same, the expressions of center, expression of the radius, everything is the same. The only difference though is that for the negative resistance, we basically, what do we plot? The inverse complex conjugate of the original value. So we were plotting S11, right? S11 conjugate there. We plot 1 over S11 conjugate and read the resistance circles as negative and reactance as given, which means that if I have an impedance, say, I don't know, say 0.5 plus J 1.2, okay? My conjugate is 0.5 minus J 1.2. I will read the real part as minus 0.5, because what that means is that if my device sees negative resistance of that particular impedance, it will start oscillating. So in this case, what happens is everything remains same. It's just that the GI, the normalized gain, actually can be different. And what you plot is you plot 1 over S11, and then you determine stable region using this expression that the real of ZS should be greater than real of Z in, and real of ZL is greater than real of Z out. And when you do, we will go up for an example that will make it clear. So basically, first step is you draw 1 over S11 conjugate to find whatever is the Z in. Then you find 1 over S11 on which the center of constant gain circles will lie, like how we did S11 conjugate in previous cases. And once you do that, then you basically go and plot your gain circle. I think let's go with an example. It might be interesting. And in this example, it's a case of potentially unstable. So let's see this example first. I guess this will make it more clear that what happens in a case. So for example, first you directly see S11 is greater than 1. Whenever you see S11 greater than 1, a bulb should light in your head. Oh, this is not a normal transistor. This transistor has some issues. Okay. Now, if it has issues, how we basically figure out what is actually happening with this impedance. So in this particular case, my S11 is 2.27 angle minus 120. So the first question is determine the input impedance and the optimum output termination. Okay. S22 is fine. S22 is greater than 1. Okay. So let me just write. So we saw clearly S11 is greater than 1. S22 is less than 1. If S22 is less than 1, it's the magnitude actually. Magnitude. S22 is less than 1, then this is very straightforward. S22 will give you gamma L. So you can directly say your gamma L is S22 conjugate. That will be the optimum termination. So I have the answer for it. My gamma L is nothing but 0.6 angle 80. Okay. Now, what is my Z in this case? So as I mentioned earlier, to calculate the input impedance, locate 1 over S11 conjugate. So 1 over S11 conjugate, which means this is 1 over 2.27 angle minus 120 conjugate. So this will this is 120, so this conjugate becomes plus, then it goes up. So this becomes this becomes 0.44 angle minus 120 degrees. Okay, so this is I have to first locate this impedance on Smith chart. Okay, so this impedance basically will be, let's take a Smith chart. We have used that. Can I still copy it? Or okay, that's good. So let's go and try to plot this on the Smith chart. Maybe I can go on the next page because so oops. So this is what, yeah. So we will plot what 1 over S11 conjugate. Oops, sorry. 1 over S11 conjugate, which is equal to 0.44 angle minus 120. तो कैसे करेंगे? Simple. This is 90. This is minus 120. I'm approximating it. You guys can do it in a better way. तो यहाँ से somewhere here, and 0.44 will be somewhere here. So this is 1 over S11 conjugate. Okay, I mark this. That's my step 1. Okay. So what I have to do is I have to calculate the input impedance. So once you have marked this 1 over S11 conjugate, you will then read whatever is the value of your what you call your impedances here, right? So this is 0.5 and this is approximately 0.6, 0.5, yeah, it's approximately here. I'm not able to see it well actually. This is 0.6. Yeah, 0.6, 0.5. So constant admittance circle you will go on. Okay. तो ये impedance जो होगा ना, that is around, and again in this case S11 is greater than 1. Remember this statement which I mentioned here. The negative, we plot the complex conjugate of the original value and then read resistance circles as negative and reactance as given. So resistance circle we will be reading as negative, which means ये impedance originally क्या था? Originally ये होता 0.5 minus, because it's in the capacitive region, J 0.46. But in this case, S11 greater than this and potentially unstable case, my Z in will be 50 times. Read negative resistance as negative value, minus 0.5 minus J 0.46. So this becomes minus 25 minus J 23. That is my Z in. Simple. Okay. तो अगर डिवाइस ये impedance देखेगा तो there will be oscillation. Gamma L is simple. Gamma L because S22 is less than S22 is less than 1. So shoot man. So my gamma L will be nothing but as S22 conjugate. Okay. Now let's second part is it is asking us to plot, determine the unstable region in Smith chart and construct constant gain circles. GS is 5 dB, GS 5 dB and 3 dB. तो पहले तो हमें रीजन पता लगाना है कि स्टेबल रीजन कौन सा है और नॉन स्टेबल रीजन कौन सा है. ओके. तो what we will do once you have that, you can do two things, right? So real part of ZS, if it is less than real part of Zin, अगर ये true है, then it is an unstable region. Okay. And if अगर वो नहीं है तो I mean if it is greater than, then it is in stable region. तो if you see this circle यहाँ पर, this one, so let's just draw what is the constant 0.5 circle. तो 0.5 यहाँ पर है, बस एक सर्कल ड्रॉ करना है कांस्टेंट इस पर. This is just so much pain doing this thing. Okay. So the region where Z, real part of Z is less than real part of Z means this region. मैंने यहाँ पर ये दिया है ना कि it's stable if ZS is greater than Zn, right? तो greater than Zn वाला एरिया है ये, so ये तो हो गया stable and this all is unstable. Okay. Now it is saying that we have to plot gain circle of GS is equal to 5 dB and GS is equal to 3 dB. You have to plot these gain circles. So same कहानी है gain circle की. For gain circle, as I mentioned here, this is a potentially unstable case. For gain circle, you have to follow 1 over S11. First find 1 over S11 and then use that normalized GI value, GS, find normalized GI from here and then substitute that GI in radius and center expression which were here. Those are still unchanged. जो यहाँ पे expressions थे. Actually, I can just copy it again there so that you guys remember. So you do this. Let me. Okay. So go back. So plot 1 over S11. So we know S11. So 1 over S11 we will plot first, and then you will calculate GS. So GS is equal to 5 dB है, तो small GS निकालेंगे. So this is around 3.16. So this is equal to GS 1 minus S11 का whole square. So this is equal to 3.16 times 1 minus 2.27 whole square. So this is small gs is minus 13.123. So अब RGS निकालो by substituting it in this expression which I gave you here, and CG nikalo. You have to find both of them. Okay, so your RGS is 0.217, and then find the value of your CGS 0.415, and I guess the angle, इसका मैंने angle calculate नहीं किया, but just calculate whatever it is. It should be around 120, approximately 120 degrees. Okay, so first mark 1 over S11 in this case. So S11 we know, S11 was how much? 0.4 angle 120. S11 is this, so 1 over. So this becomes what? 0.44 angle 120. So ये इधर है. So 0.4 is this. So approximately this impedance will be my 1 over S11. Okay. Now you have to plot the circles. You know what is RGS, CGS. तो CGS is 0.4415. यहाँ पे center है, ये 2 है, तो ऐसा कुछ circle बनेगा ये. Similarly ये 3 dB बना है. Similarly 5 dB बनेगा. You can plot both of them. ठीक है, 3 dB बन गया, 5 dB बन गया. Then what it is saying is that once you have those circles, you can calculate whatever gamma s you want. So if I want to match, I will try to select somewhere near this so that matching is easy. You can select whatever it is. Now if you want to calculate the total gain, which is GTU, that will be GS max plus GL max and plus G naught, right? तो इस केस में G naught क्या होगा? S21 का whole square. GL max क्या होगा? 1 over 1 minus S22 whole square. And GS max in this case is 1 over 1 minus S11 का whole square. So you calculate all this, and then you will know the total gain of the transistor. But once you have these two, you can basically then calculate whatever the gamma s you want to produce, so that you can do easy matching. Okay, तो इस केस में अगर मेरे को select करना था, तो I will say this is my 3 dB circle. Actually 3 dB circle बाहर वाला होगा. This will be 3 dB, this will be 5 dB, because higher the gain, smaller will be the radius. All right. So if I want to select something on 3 dB, I will try to select, this is my center. I will select exactly at this point so that I can just select the element like this. Okay. So just to summarize, because I know it's getting late now, in a case of potentially unstable, you first do S11. Step 1 is this. Step 2 is find GS using GS 1 minus S11 whole square, which is again given here in this expression. Okay. Once you have that, then you calculate CGS and RGS. Then you plot that circle. and this is the case k1 greater than 1 delta sorry, k is less than 1, delta less than 1. Plot that circle and select your impedance, whatever impedance selection is needed. So you follow these steps for potentially unstable. For the other case, you do S11 conjugate, S22 conjugate, and other cases mentioned above in this slide. So that's how you do gain circle plotting for two different cases: unconditionally stable and potentially stable unstable case. Okay. So with this, I guess we are kind of coming to an end to gain circle. Another thing I want to quickly cover is the noise figure and how do you calculate noise figure and plot noise circles. And I guess from next week, so usually this class happens every Wednesday and Friday. So from next Wednesday, I want everyone to be ready with their ADS, and it should be working. I don't want to waste time that I don't have a license or my ADS is not working. If it is not working, Deepak, I have sent an email. If it doesn't work, try to figure out some license by like some software by yourself. Okay. And for IIT Bombay folks also, I think the purpose of inviting you today was to make you understand that the design part is quite extensive and you can look for many things. But it's important to understand the theoretical perspective of them. That how does stability works regarding S parameters, how on Smith chart we do basic plotting, and then when you do the design work, now you will see that how fast you can do with the help of CAD tools. So we can basically do the same thing. We can plot stability, we can do gain circles, stability circles, max gain, matching networks, and as well as we can do noise circles, noise figure, and that report you can submit to Professor Ganguly and the funding agencies, or in your case ISRO or whatever. You can then work with them to show what results you are getting using the models you have generated. Okay. So I think that's it from my end for today. If anyone has any questions, I can take it. No questions?
No, sir. It is clear.
Clear, right? Good. And what about Prabhanshu? Any question or comments?
No, sir, not yet. I'll go through this and then if I'll have, I'll message you regarding.
Okay, great. So I will just recommend that I will send you guys some. Okay, by the way, what I will do to save time, I will also send ADS transistor model, which we will be using, so that you can have it on your computer, and then we go from there. So I cover this, I cover noise figure. Now I want to start really focusing on simulation. One thing is, please convey this to rest lab members that from next week onwards, all the classes will be using ADS. That's what we will do for a month now, almost. When is the semester ending again?
So May 22 maybe.
May 22. So we have almost a month, right? And then you will also have final exams. So yeah, so we need to really focus on that. So please have the ADS ready, and then I will meet you then on Wednesday morning at 9 a.m. Okay.
Okay, sir.
All right. Take care, guys. Bye bye.
So just one thing. Any of the IIT guys can explain shortly what are they doing?
Prabhanshu, do you want to explain?
Yeah, okay, so I can try briefly. So what we are doing, like in the ADS, when we will be designing any like power amplifier in our case, so you will be having some kind of PDK. So that PDK is specific to a foundry, which knows how the transistor when fabricated will behave. So at IIT Bombay in our fabrication lab, we have fabricated a gallium nitride hemp transistor. So that transistor we'll be using for designing for satellite applications, and currently that we are using for power amplifier. So as sir explained that when we have fabricated the device, we have measured various characteristics of the device like the S parameters and the DC characteristics. So what we want is that the designer should be able to simulate it before giving out the like whatever the like any process flow of designing a chip. So designer should be able to simulate it first, how the circuit will behave. So for including that fabrication part into the EDA tool, we have to create a model for that fabricated device. So that we are working on that. In so the EDA tool we have chosen is ADS. So for ADS, so how we will be adding that simulation characteristics within ADS, we are looking at that. So currently, like we have been able to, like the device we have fabricated, we are able to now simulate the S parameter characteristics and the DC characteristics within ADS. So now we want to verify it. So that's why we are attending this class. So we will be like
Okay, I understand. And how did you fabricate it? What
So
did you take in the
So
substrate? and-
basically, what happens is that IIT Bombay has a nanoscience lab, and they have a I will say world class facility where you can fabricate different technologies. So they have a GAN reactor. Basically, in that GAN reactor, they do deposition of different materials and they make these test structures. Or these test structures are the transistors in different technology. You can make them in gallium nitride, gallium arsenide, or whatever you want. So these are those test structures. Now, once that test structure is there, that test structure is like a FET. It has a drain gate source. Then you go and do measurements. You see what is DCIV of that. You see ID versus VGS versus VDS. You measure S parameters. That part already they have done. So you get all that data, but that data is in measurement. How do you use that data in a tool to do the circuit design? So for that, they create models and they use ADS to create that models. So they will take all that data, they will try to curve fit it, or they will try to have a lookup table where they can create some kind of a model. And that model is then used in a SCAD tool in ADS or in Cadence or whatever it is to simulate. So they are doing modeling right now, so they will make that model, they will extract that model, and once that model is out, then we will do verification, which means that we will use that model, check for different parameters. We will plot S parameter, we will plot DCIV, and then we will also plot whatever we have discussed: stability, gain circle, noise circles, see what performances are there. So when ISRO will tell them, hey, we want to design something. So given their model, they can now predict whether this is even achievable or not, because they can't directly fabricate without simulating anything.
Yes, sir. Correct.
So what they are doing is very important, right? It enables designers to do the real stuff. If they don't do it, then designers are not able to proceed further.
Okay, sir. So that means in the fabrication part, they grew gallium nitride and gallium for the PNP junction on a silicon substrate, I think.
Correct. In their case, it's GaN on silicon carbide.
Okay.
I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, I made that, but in a PLD machine, not what these guys are using.
Yeah, their program is very. I think their lab is pretty good. They and IISc both have amazing labs. If you guys want now, you should apply there for an intern and check it out. Sometime. But now because of COVID, everything is screwed up. But
Yes, sir.
I think even your vice chancellor, right, Professor Jagdish Kumar, he's also from devices. His background
Yes,
is also.
electrical parts. Yes, sir. Even in here we have the nanoscience department. We have quite a lot of machines there.
I see. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't think you guys are doing GAN, but Professor Jagdish Kumar, I've read his papers. They're pretty good. He's very well known in his field. So he used to be a device guy as well.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Take care, guys. Bye bye. I need to sleep.